A cynical new low for the prince as he plots yet another fake royal trip overseas in a last shameless attempt to win over King Charles and make himself a frontline serving royal once again.
Well, it has to be stopped. They need to have lots of police and all sorts of people there to stop her doing that, to ruin that for the royal family, because she's not representing the United Kingdom one bit. She's representing herself, and I don't think she should be allowed to do that.
Harry sees this trip as a potential game changer in his relationship with the family, and our source goes on to say Harry wants to turn heads, wow everyone, and show the royals what they're missing.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are once again proving why they are such a danger to the British royal family as the couple announced a tour of the Commonwealth of Australia. And now, while they're saying this is a mix of private, philanthropic, and business related.
Stop everything for a second, because the timing of this announcement is impossible to ignore. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have just confirmed they will be traveling to Australia in mid-April. According to their spokesperson, the trip will include a series of private business and philanthropic engagements. It sounds official, polished, even glamorous, but here's the part no one seems to be focusing on. This announcement didn't arrive during a moment of success. It landed right after a major shock. Netflix, the platform that was supposed to anchor the Sussex media empire, has reportedly stepped away. No new projects, no renewals, no visible continuation of the partnership. And almost immediately, a new headline appears. Harry and Meghan are going to Australia. Coincidence? Observers aren't convinced. Many are already describing the move as a strategic distraction, a calculated shift in narrative. Because in modern media, a high-profile international appearance can redirect attention faster than any official statement.
Harry wants to be a frontline serving royal because he's bored in America and he's flat broke. Don't forget, the deals are disappearing and Netflix have just pulled the plug.
Glamorous travel, public events, new photos, new headlines. Suddenly, the conversation moves from business uncertainty to global visibility. The couple last visited Australia in 2018 during their royal tour. Crowds gathered. Media coverage exploded. For a moment, the Sussex brand appeared unstoppable. Now, 7 years later, the circumstances are very different. They are no longer working royals. Their media ambitions were meant to thrive through streaming deals, lifestyle ventures, and global public appearances. That foundation now appears shaken. Reports suggest the multi-million-dollar Netflix partnership, once framed as the cornerstone of their media future, has effectively come to an end. And yet, almost immediately, a new storyline takes center stage. Sydney, Melbourne, international buzz. The real question isn't whether the visit itself is normal, it's why the timing feels so precise. Because when one of your biggest business relationships collapses, there is one PR strategy that always works. Create new momentum, shift the headlines, project forward movement, remind audiences of influence and relevance. This trip isn't just about travel, it's about optics. The headlines alone begin rewriting the narrative, from a major partnership setback to a high-profile international return.
She walked out of a market that had been done specially for her, that had taken days, if not weeks, to be ready.
Yeah, and asked to be paid.
And asked to be paid. But she didn't like that either. She felt uncomfortable. And she just hated it there, and she didn't want to go. Rather like she doesn't like the royal family. She hates it, but there's all sorts of rumours that she wants to go back. It's the same thing in Australia. She didn't like it. She hated it, but she wanted to, she wants to go back.
So the Sussexes have announced that they're planning a major trip to Australia next month, April 2026. And the Mark Dolan show has been told by a very well-placed royal source that we trust implicitly that this trip is one that Harry hopes will put him and Meghan back on the royal map.
So yes, they are going back to Australia, but the spotlight isn't only for fans. It may also be designed to soften the impact of a much bigger story unfolding behind the scenes. If the trip unfolds as announced, it won't just be a visit, it will be a spectacle. Early reports suggest Harry and Meghan are expected to appear in Sydney and Melbourne, two of Australia's most prominent cities. Their spokesperson described the itinerary as a mix of private business meetings and philanthropic engagements. Again, polished language, carefully structured messaging. But observers have noticed something else. There are still no confirmed events, no named partners, no organizations publicly attached to the visit, just a promise that details will be shared later. In the world of high-profile figures, that often signals something important. Sometimes the headline itself matters more than the plan. And in this case, the headline has already done its job. Within hours, global media outlets began reporting the couple's return to Australia after more than 7 years. Images from their 2018 tour resurfaced. Commentators revisited their past popularity in the region. Speculation about public reception quickly followed. The narrative shifted almost instantly. Instead of discussing questions around the Netflix situation, the conversation became about an international comeback, and that shift may not be accidental.
Red flag literally waving right in front of Charles's face. It's waving right in front of his face about Harry and Meghan, and he just seems unable to recognize how past actions, past dealings with Andrew have resulted in Harry and Meghan, and how that's just going to get worse. Yes, Harry and Meghan went to Nigeria back in 2024, but going to Australia, really making this seem like another attempt at a cosplay royal tour on such close, in a country so closely connected to the monarchy, should be very, very disturbing to those working in Buckingham Palace right now.
One report even suggested Meghan could appear on an Australian podcast during the trip. The show being mentioned is Her Best Life, associated with media personality Jackie O. Henderson. There are also rumors about a possible live event, perhaps a celebrity Q and A-style appearance designed to generate media coverage and social buzz. None of this has been officially confirmed, but the rumors themselves serve a purpose. They build anticipation, they generate curiosity, and most importantly, they create headlines. Because when photographers capture images from Sydney Harbour or red carpet moments in Melbourne, the narrative changes again. Attention moves toward fashion, appearances, celebrity presence, exactly the kind of coverage that can push uncomfortable business questions into the background.
Our insider has said, and I quote, Harry believes that the optics of this Australia trip will be perfect. You heard me right. Harry believes the optics of this Australia trip will be perfect. Revisiting a country where the couple last visited as frontline members of the royal family in 2018. Our source goes on to say, Harry is hoping to tap into some of the magic of that last trip 7 years ago, where he believes that he and Meghan truly shone. He thinks that his father, the king, will be impressed with this Australian trip and will reach out.
And right now, those questions are becoming harder to ignore. The reported breakdown of the Netflix partnership has sparked wider debate about the long-term stability of the Sussex business model and whether global visibility alone can sustain influence in an increasingly competitive media landscape. Their streaming deal was supposed to be the foundation of their post-royal careers. Instead, reports now suggest the relationship ended abruptly, leaving a major gap in the empire they were trying to build, and that's exactly what makes the timing of this Australia trip so fascinating. Because big international visits do something powerful. They reset perception, they project influence, they remind audiences of global status, and perhaps most importantly, they create the impression that everything is still moving forward exactly as planned. But if this really is a carefully timed media moment, then the Australia headlines may not just be about travel. They may be about buying time to reshape the narrative, time to redirect attention, time to convince the world that the Netflix fallout isn't the beginning of something much bigger. And here's where the story becomes even more intense. The Netflix deal was supposed to be the crown jewel of the Sussex media empire.
Everything they do, Angela, seems to be driven by a sense of revenge. And we've even
Yes.
seen that overnight with the news that it looks like their plan to go to Australia.
But what we see is them acting their fantasies out. They're acting as if they are what they always intended to be, and the Queen told them no. And if Charles does not address this, again, we have seen with Andrew how this leads to absolute disaster.
A multi-million-dollar partnership designed to produce shows, documentaries, and premium content that would secure Harry and Meghan's place as global media powerhouses. But insiders now claim the relationship collapsed completely. Not a pause, not a renegotiation, a quiet exit. And suddenly, everything the Sussex brand was built on begins to wobble. The launchpad into streaming, gone. The unstoppable momentum, stalled. While headlines celebrate Australia, the reality behind the scenes looks far harsher. Because this trip may not simply be about appearances, it may be about distraction. Sydney, Melbourne, glamorous events, new photos, social media buzz. Every headline shifts the conversation toward travel, fashion, and celebrity presence instead of a failed multi-million-dollar partnership.
People say wow, right? So he wants to turn heads and wow everyone. People will say wow when he goes to Australia. They'll say, wow, this couple are so embarrassing. Wow, this couple are deluded. Wow, this couple are living on another planet.
Some observers even suggest the couple's PR strategy moved quickly to turn the narrative into a spectacle. Instead of confronting the fallout, the focus became clear. Create a story so visible, so polished, that the collapse behind the scenes fades from view. And in the entertainment industry, headlines aren't just coverage, they're protection. They redirect attention, they soften impact, sometimes they even reshape reality. Right now, that distraction couldn't have come at a more critical moment. Because losing Netflix isn't just about losing a partner, it raises deeper questions about the entire foundation of the Sussex brand.
And Harry and Meghan, of course, always wanted to conflate that. Meghan, in particular, wanted to be paid to do a walkabout. When they went to Australia and these huge crowds appeared, she was looking around going, why isn't anybody paying me for my appearance? I'm a stinking celebrity, gosh darn it. When I was an actress on Suits, I would get paid to shake hands with people. I would get paid to spend time with fans. Like, that's part of it. But that's not what royals do. Royals give of themselves a lot much more than celebrities do in many ways. And Meghan just couldn't understand.
That is how deluded these people are, that they think there's a chance that there's a way back when clearly there is not.
Without a major streaming platform, every future deal, lifestyle ventures, speaking engagements, media projects, faces renewed scrutiny. How sustainable is the model? How strong is the influence? Those questions are becoming harder to avoid, and that's why the Australia trip matters so much. It provides instant credibility in the public eye. It allows the couple to appear as global entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and high-profile figures still moving confidently on the world stage. Meanwhile, the story that truly threatens the brand, the streaming collapse, begins to slip quietly out of focus.
And Meghan Markle walked into the royal family thinking, oh, her multi-millionaire dreams were finally coming true. And then she gets stuck in Nottingham Cottage and is like, oh my gosh, this sucks. I need to get out. I need to get out. How dare I? I'm a duchess now, and I'm living less well than I was when I was an actress.
The strategy, critics say, is simple. Glamour over reality, momentum over doubt, headlines over uncertainty. To the public, the narrative becomes one of travel and opportunity. Behind the scenes, the financial and strategic foundation may be under pressure. In the court of public opinion, dazzling coverage can buy time. Time to spin, adjust, and stabilize perception. Because when one of your biggest deals collapses, sometimes the only way to protect the narrative is to create a spectacle large enough to overshadow the cracks. And the details of this Australia visit only deepen the intrigue. Reports suggest Harry and Meghan will visit Sydney and Melbourne, two of the country's most influential cities, yet surprisingly little has been officially confirmed. No detailed schedule, no named partner organizations, no specific venues, only broad phrases like private business engagements and philanthropic meetings.
It's quite extraordinary. It's going to have the opposite effect. If Harry thinks that this will be a game changer, the game will be changed and it will work against him, because Harry is going to once again infuriate not just his father, King Charles, but of course the real power behind the throne, William, who is the equivalent of the president-elect. He is the heir to the throne. He's the king in waiting. and he won't take any of this nonsense from Harry when he becomes the main man.
To media analysts, that language signals something familiar, a story still being shaped in real time. And the urgency makes sense, because behind the headlines, the situation appears increasingly complicated. Netflix, once positioned as the cornerstone of Meghan's media ambitions, has reportedly stepped away entirely. Overnight, what looked like a secure global platform began to resemble a fragile brand facing uncertainty. Instead of focusing on that instability, the public now sees images of international travel, public appearances, and polished social media moments. Some insiders describe the timing as almost too perfect. The announcement arrives just as questions about the streaming deal intensify. Suddenly, the narrative pivots. Red carpets replace revenue discussions.
And this is another clear sign and indicator of why Charles needs to take the ultimate step that he seems so reluctant to do, which is strip them of not only their titles, but places in the line of succession. Because Harry and Meghan are doing this not because they have anything to offer the people of Australia. No. They are doing this because the royal family has not held them to the Sandringham Accord. Harry and Meghan agreed that they could not be half in, half out working royals.
Fashion replaces financial analysis. Celebrity optics replace business realities. By announcing a high-profile international visit, the couple generates fresh excitement, fresh coverage, and fresh online momentum. Instead of debating a lost streaming partnership, audiences begin speculating about podcast appearances, exclusive events, and global influence. Rumors alone help sustain the buzz. There is talk Meghan could appear on the Australian podcast Her Best Life. There is speculation about live appearances and private gatherings designed to attract media attention. None of it confirmed, yet all of it effective in shaping perception. Each glamorous moment builds a temporary buffer around the more difficult questions, because while the headlines shine, the underlying narrative remains unsettled. The empire that once appeared unstoppable now faces real tests. And the contrast with 2018 is striking. Back then, their Australian tour symbolized royal momentum and public fascination.
Harry wants to be right at the heart of the royal family again because he wants the fame, he wants the status, he wants the privilege, and he wants the money.
Today, the stakes are different. This isn't about celebrating success. It may be about maintaining control. Every appearance, every photo opportunity, every carefully framed event becomes part of a broader media maneuver, one designed to keep attention fixed on spectacle rather than structural challenges. The real question isn't whether the trip will generate headlines. It almost certainly will. The deeper question is whether it will succeed in its true mission, keeping the spotlight away from an empire that some believe is quietly beginning to unravel. Because behind the polished images and confident messaging, the pressure continues to build. The Netflix deal that was meant to secure their future has reportedly fallen apart. No renewals, no new projects, no visible continuation. And that silence may be the loudest signal of all. Which is exactly why the Australia trip suddenly feels so important. It may look like perfect timing, but the Australia trip isn't the only issue facing Harry and Meghan right now. Behind the glamorous headlines, serious financial questions are beginning to surface. Their lifestyle brand as ever is reportedly sitting on millions of dollars worth of unsold inventory. Warehouses filled with fruit spreads, candles, and home products that simply aren't moving.
To wheel and deal for themselves to enrich themselves financially.
Just months ago, headlines celebrated how Meghan's jam sold out in hours. But insiders now say the reality is far more complicated. Only a small fraction of stock is actually selling, while the rest, much of it perishable, sits untouched, quietly losing value. Then there's Archewell. The foundation once positioned as a symbol of compassion and global impact is now facing scrutiny of its own. Public filings show donations declining while administrative expenses remain high. At one point, the organization was even flagged as delinquent by the state of California. A compelling mission and polished messaging can only go so far when the financial numbers begin to tell a different story. And this is exactly why the Australia trip is attracting so much attention. Because just as difficult questions about Netflix, the brand, and the foundation begin to gain momentum, a new headline suddenly dominates the conversation. Harry and Meghan are heading to Australia. Within hours, the narrative shifts. Fashion coverage replaces financial analysis. Red carpet speculation replaces business reporting. Celebrity buzz replaces scrutiny. Insiders suggest the strategy feels almost urgent, an attempt to overwrite growing concerns with spectacle. But distraction has limits. No amount of glamorous coverage can permanently hide deeper instability. Each polished photo from Sydney or Melbourne may generate excitement, but it also risks becoming a temporary shield over more serious challenges, because the underlying story is still there. A major streaming partnership has reportedly ended. A commercial brand is struggling to convert hype into sustained demand. A charitable foundation is facing questions about structure and sustainability. Yet, instead of focusing on those issues, the public conversation is increasingly centered on travel plans, public appearances, and celebrity optics. That's the power of narrative control. Every international flight, every staged photo opportunity, every rumor of podcast appearances or exclusive events helps redirect attention away from the bigger picture. And according to some observers, the timing feels almost surgical, as Netflix steps back, as sales slow, as scrutiny increases. A high-profile international visit suddenly takes center stage. It's a reminder that in today's media environment, perception can move faster than reality. But perception doesn't change the fundamentals. Financial pressure doesn't disappear because headlines turn glamorous. Unsold inventory doesn't vanish because cameras are flashing. Organizational challenges don't resolve themselves because the spotlight moves. The real question now isn't whether the Australia trip will generate buzz. It almost certainly will. The question is how long that buzz can hold back deeper doubts. Because behind every polished image, the broader narrative continues to evolve. Media ventures facing uncertainty, business projects searching for momentum, philanthropic efforts navigating structural challenges. From multiple angles, the theme remains the same: pressure, recalibration, and reaction. This is a story that depends heavily on public focus staying on the surface. As long as audiences are captivated by travel, fashion, and celebrity presence, the harder conversations remain just outside the frame. Australia becomes the stage, the public becomes the audience, and the unresolved questions wait quietly behind the spectacle. So while headlines celebrate glamorous appearances on Sydney's waterfront or exclusive events in Melbourne, it's worth remembering the context. A major deal has reportedly collapsed, products remain unsold, a foundation faces scrutiny, and the trip itself may represent more than just international engagement. It may be an attempt to reset perception before reality catches up. Because distraction can buy time, but it cannot rewrite outcomes. Eventually, attention shifts again. Eventually, questions return. And when they do, the strength of any brand, royal or commercial, will be measured not by headlines, but by results. For now, the cameras are focused on Australia, but the real story may still be unfolding somewhere just beyond the spotlight.